As sir said just now, somebody was asking for online, right? So it is not possible like that because today's topic is very well closely linked with tomorrow's topic. So you have to understand today's topic very deeply, okay? Because that is actually a professional way how you handle the animation, okay? So for that, sir also mentioned about paperwork, okay? And there is something, definitely there is some, like in case you want to check your steps, right? As we have seen, algorithm doesn't play much role now. You have to go out of that scene where we always see that algorithm is a backbone of the program, right? So, as we said, contract, writing contract. Why it is important? Because their types are important. Now, what are types? Yes, teachers? Yeah. And then ahead, little bit ahead. Character, integer, then string, then double, then long, then okay, then no, with respect to what you are learning. Picture. Then after picture. Okay. So now you have to start yourself because now that the float integer has become now daily routine. It is important. I'm not saying no. It is not that those things are not important, but now we have to move ahead. Right? We have to move ahead. And while moving ahead, we have to deal with the type called as picture. If you are very well accustomed with this picture, then definitely now the next type will come, which is called as transition. Okay, which will come out of the sequence. And here you have to put your interest because that is the main thing. Because all assignments will be based on this type of, and then you have to use the picture. You can use any method to make, right? There is no issue there. You can use any method. Once you get a picture, then there is something called as, you want to move it or you want to put some changes in that, right? And then you want to see that. That gives you the animation. And definitely after transition, then you get a animation. That is also a type, right? So we'll go step by step, okay? We'll go slow. So today's topic, how to use the sequences. There is something called as sequences, right? Sequence is very clear understanding. You have something, after others, right? Now we have a sequence of numbers, correct? So you have this kind of thing where, you will have somebody, standing in front and somebody at end. This is a very simple concept, right? But then how you use it in this programming or in this code, that is important. Then you have how to use sequences to group multiple parameter values into one input value, right? So you give one value and you try to change many other parameters. You give only one value, right? And then you change other parameters also, right? So you'll see that. Now going ahead, then we have a transitions. Then how these sequences will result into transition. There is also, as I told you, there is a type called as transition, right? And by using this transition, we'll try to animate the things, right? We'll try to, make some changes in that. Transition comes, word comes from the transition. That means there are changes. Okay, it's a very simple thing. So if you try to use this, actually we know this meaning, but in this context, it becomes difficult for us to relate it to this coding, right? So going ahead, then contract of transition and animation type. Then contract of transition and animation type. As I told you, beginning of this, right? We also have to concentrate on the type other than what we have learned, right? That is picture. After picture, then transition will come, animation will come, right? And then composing animation using any sequence and any part. This is the final touch where you run the animation. But there are two ways to run the animation.
So
One
what's the
is-
full form of anim sequence and part?
We'll come to that. Its animation sequence means if there are two animations, you run one after other. When one gets over, other starts, right? And parallel means at the same time. Pair, like at par or parallel. Okay.
So दोन कार मी आमका एक बरोबर धावणावं मेळटलें.
Yes. Suppose you have two animations. You can run this animation at the same time. I'll show you that. Or you can run this animation one after another. That means one animation get over, other starts. Clear?
That is sequence.
That is sequence. I'll show you here only. So we'll go for that again, but see, this is parallel. Already that transition took place. You have not seen it because I have changed the parameters there. So, but if you go for, see, this is, you can see here, see here, any part. That means parallel animation is taking place. That means that that sphere is also rotating. And then the square is also revolving. Now, if I change it to sequence, any sequence, see, this is first animation followed by the second animation. Right? We'll come to that part. That's the last part. Right? Okay. Now, how to start with this, right? What I personally followed today, what I understood, is you have a picture, right? Any picture, and you apply a transformation to it. Correct? You apply transformation to it. Now, if you apply transformation once, then what happens? If you apply only once, it tries to change, correct? So you apply the transformation number of times, then animation takes place. Very simple. But how to do it? That system is there as per the we are using Kojo. So we have a way how Kojo is used, right? So that is a way to understand this animation. Very simple, right? So you have a transformation many times. And then you apply on that object or that shape, and that shape tries to act in that particular way. Okay? So, I will take a very simple example here. You know, there are certain, we are also, see, this is also gravity, the same thing. So, a bit of animation type by using this sequence. This is done by this sequence, right? and you see you will be able to do like this. What is happening here? Can you observe?
Size also change.
You can change color also, right? Randomly. Actually, this I wanted to show you later. Only thing here, what the parameter should be random. If you find out how to use the random, types of color scheme if you use, and if you put that numbers, any random number, then color will go on changing. So that is the logic here, right? Okay. How to make a star? By using what you have learned this way. Can you make a star?
Yes.
Yeah. The best way. You take one square, correct? You take another square, put it in fixed stack, star बन गया. त्याला काम कितने struggle करता है. Turn कर, right फिर है या नहीं सकेगा, right? Right? Here you get a star here. What you see here is a star. Define star tick stack, and you are putting those square pictures into it. And the square picture to it slightly changed, right? The angle is changed, right? Don't worry about sin and cos. Again and again, I am telling you. That sin and cos will be given to you. But just for your understanding, I am telling you. It is not a big deal. Once you know sin and cos of that particular angle, and whatever parameter you put, that will be the radius. Now it will be difficult for you to understand, but I am telling you, because many times I also heard we have to use trigonometry, right? So you don't have to worry about it, right? Now, before going for this, I just want to refresh, about contract. Everybody can see here, right? The first is square picture. Right click. I have to select. Okay. No, it's not.
Control plus sign. Control plus. Otherwise, right click.
No, I'll just say.
Sir, don't right click, increase font. Increase font size.
With that, increase font. Yeah. Okay. Now it's okay. Okay. Now. Okay. Now everybody can see? No? Still you can, yeah? Still you want to? Now sir? Clear?
This one.
Is the shining there? Okay. If I go for this, if the function is this, for example, right? So for the square function, you can see square picture 1, correct? What is the contract for this?
It's just square.
Picture? Yeah, just picture square, madam. Just picture square. Contract, I'm asking you contract. You have done no contract? Yeah.
Colon.
Square picture. Right? Then
Picture.
it takes picture.
Yes. And gives also arrow.
Yeah. Sir Mayur, is it correct?
Picture one.
Yeah. See, this function actually draws the square, picture of the square, correct? Now, she said, the contract for this, it takes picture and gives out picture.
Picture is not there. Square picture.
Where picture is not there, and
After-
two places picture is there. Which?
The first one is not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Name of the death. Name of the death.
No, def is not there. It's not coding. Yeah.
The
Sir.
name which I am giving to the this block.
Square picture 1.
One.
Okay.
Is a picture.
Yeah, but what is the, what is the syntax of contract, rule of contract? What is the rule of contract? Name of the function. Then what? Then what?
Type of picture that will
Output.
input.
So here name of the function.
Yes.
Then output.
This is input. And what output the function will give.
Yes.
Sir, I have taken that day, right?
Yes.
If f of x is equal to x plus 1, correct?
Yes.
This becomes input
2x.
and this becomes output. And this becomes what? Expression. Right. So the same thing we have to use. So only thing contract is drafted by using this, right? But we don't take this because this is purely mathematical, right? Now, if I want to go for square picture, say star, right? Animate picture. You can see animate picture there. See, first one is this, correct? Then we have this, right? Then we have this, where we are bundling, two stars, two squares, correct? To make a star. Then we have animate picture, right? So let us write contract for this. What is the contract for this? Everybody got where we are actually right now? Animate square, correct? Animate square. Yeah. So let us write a contract for, because this understanding contract is very important. Yeah. So we'll go for writing animate square, right? Animate picture. Name of the function.
It takes a input.
Yeah. Okay. Then
Double. State. It takes a input state sequence. It takes a input states. Sequence. doubles. Is there this? It should come over there. Yes. Yes.
So now what is happening here is that state is come in middle, right? The state is come in middle, and state itself is having its own input there. Okay? If anybody have done computer science and all, we will know that there is an array concept called as array. This works in similar way, but slightly different. Because in array, here also you can access the particular state you can access, right? But what is important here is to understand the state. Now this state is a concept where actual picture will be defined. Okay, it's like one picture per state, another picture, another state. So like this it goes till the whatever the endpoint is given. Correct? Now endpoint is given here that we will come to know. We will actually go through that. That is after that you can see there are duration of the entire animation. Correct? So that is a 4. So that is basically a timing between the first slide and the last slide. First state and the last state. Okay? So now when we are actually dealing with the state, see I am going very slow. I can actually show the animation, this particular programs, explain the programs, then there will be a problem. So we will go very slow. We have enough of time. Now when we deal with this animation picture, right, we have something called as states. Okay. Now these states it works like the sequence. That means you put these particular states in form of sequences. Okay. And now these sequences are then called in the transition. Okay. So you can see here this animated picture, right? This animated picture state double. Now what I have seen, what I have actually mentioned before when we have started, one parameter can change the multiple, one value, input value can change the multiple parameters. Remember, I said it, right? One parameter, one input parameter can change a multiple parameters, right? That is at this particular
Because it provides a value to that parameter.
Yes, yes. So if this becomes here, if you see, this becomes an input here. This becomes an input here, right? And based on this, what is this? What is that actually? Transformations, right? There's a transformation. You can have rotation, you can have translations also, correct? You can have translations also. You can change the color scheme also, correct? Now, this particular one input can be used to change the parameters of whatever transformation you want, right? No? So you can with one input, you can change a multiple parameters, right, of the particular shape, right? Whatever picture you are using, right? Now, how you are calling it? That is the one part. That is one part, right? Then how you call it? You want to run the animation, correct? Just by defining it will not run. Some activity has to be done.
Along,
Yes.
like function along with the parameter.
Yes, yes. So if I put now what is important is, I'll tell you, which is you have to understand in this, is suppose if I write like this. is a parameter because time is not there. State of 0. Correct? So always remember, if I use translation, I can use one input parameter also. But you are not comfortable, I can use state 1, state 2, right? And then I can use it for the translation, right? Now,
So that states is user defined or it can.
no, this is the user defined. This is the like how we define variables.
Size, steps.
Yeah. And then this can be, this is a reservoir.
The type of that.
This is the type of that. Okay. And then what actually this function gives is picture. Right? Okay. Now when we give this, okay, overall we give the animation, but later on, when you put it in the transition, right? Now, only thing what is important is that this has to go here. Okay, suppose if I take translation, right? Suppose if I take translation. Any problem? This will give you this is of my picture and
So the name of the two parameters is same. State.
state 1 and state 2 cannot be same. But we are taking two different.
Yeah.
Is it clear?
Yeah. Very much.
I'll take, I said I'll take translated, right?
Yeah.
That's translated. So they will not able to see the I mean, this board is shiny. One here. Party हो गया? Okay? Okay, black. Okay, can you see black? Okay. So we have two states. If you have two states, you can pass these two states to the translation.
There's two parameters, X and Y.
Yeah.
Yes.
But other way also, if you have one, you can
Yeah.
change those two X and Y
Yes.
based on your what functionality you
For
have.
rectangle also we did it, length and breadth. Then for pattern of rectangle, if I declare only one parameter, I can pass it to that length and breadth.
Yes. Okay. So that's what I said. With one parameter, if the translation is there, right, and if you want to change the with the help of input one parameter, you want to change the X and Y, you can do that. It depends on your team.
Sir, that states is a keyword or a variable? That states.
This state one, these are the variables. They are the variables, right? If you have any doubt till now, please clear it. If you have a doubt till now, please clear it. Sir, till doubt. sir.
So आता contract you are teaching now. What about that code? Full different codes are sir. How will you teach the student?
I'll come to that. Now, every line of the code is based on the contract, correct? Right? Now, if you can learn the contract, you can very well learn the code. That means, suppose for example, आम्ही जे पहिली घेतलेले पळय हे घेतलेले राईट याचे आमकां इनपुट आणि आउटपुट जर कळना वी आर नॉट एबल टू राईट द सो कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट जो आसा पळय ऍक्च्युअली तो फक्त तुका इनपुट कितें आणि आउटपुट कितें त्या फंक्शनाचे सांगता तो तुमकां कोड कसो आसतलो तो सांगूंक शकना right now recently we were doing something called as bootstrap in that scala languages तेतुनूय अशें आसा contract is same so it gives student some idea what will be the input and what will be the output especially the type कितें आसा थोडे कोड आसता पळय थंय मिसमॅच जावपाक जायना टायप मागीर तो एरर येता हांगा सुद्दां येता तो
Yes.
How you did in the scratch? Same here.
Scratch is a block language.
No, parameters, I mean, we took parameters over next
Correct,
block.
correct.
Next third block, fourth block.
Yeah.
Continuation. No?
So yes. So what is important is that your code will function if the parameter matches, if the type matches,
Yes.
and contract guarantees you if you write a contract properly, if you know to write a contract for particular code line, it guarantees you that there won't be error because of the type.
If I
Because contract is based only on type. Data type.
if I declare it as int and if I give the input decimal,
Other side, yeah.
decimal,
Then there will be a
error.
mismatch. You get error. You have seen it, I think. You have written many programs, right? Now, after, and of course, why I am going with this? Because I am supposed to do only the transition type and animation type, but I have just taken up, other types so that we can continue that. Actually, my today's session include only transition type and animation type, right? So anyway, after this, now this you understood, no? How the state is passed to the parameters. It's very important. This is actually a turning point. If you don't know this, then you will not able to, some problem will take place in your transition. Okay? So, very important. So first, you have to know what exactly you want to do with that shape. Whether you want to translate it or whether you want to rotate it, correct? So accordingly, you form the contract and then you make the code and use the code in then we'll see how we can use it in transition, how to frame the transition. Now framing of the transition also have because transition is also one of the type. Okay, we'll see how to use it because this is although it is a turning point, writing the state, defining the state or defining the input, right? State as an input, passing parameter is one of the turning point, right? After that, how it has to be framed, right? That comes in the transition point. Okay. Now, normally. Now here,
So state is the input over there.
what is your
State is the input over there.
What is state? State is an array. Is it an array?
It is not array. It is not array. It's a
No, because you are passing the starting point. No?
Correct. But it is not taken here. No, it is not taken as array because here it takes as a picture The state takes as a picture. Array takes as a number. Array cannot take the picture.
But you mentioned double word.
No. That is the number of the state. That is the number of the state. Sir, you will come to know because we are going ahead. No, the picture will be more clear, right? So once we go ahead, of course, I'll come back to that particular doubt. That what is the difference between array and sequence, right? Now, again, madam has some doubt. What about this, right? Yeah. So now when we actually, here, what you see here, picture. So this whole and soul is a function, no?
Yes.
You can see this is a function, and it is taking this parameter, and it is passing this. It gives output as a picture. So you understood, very clear, right? And that becomes an expression. Whatever
So
you write, that becomes.
write that full command below. That's translated X.
Yeah, because there is some doubt was there.
Yeah.
So I am not. So we have a two parameters. We are passing one parameter here, another parameter here, correct? And then what we do? That's translated. State one. Right? Correct? So here, this will be state 0 and this will be state 2. So both will start from the 0. Both will start from the 0. Okay? So now this is one hurdle, right, to understand. If you make mistake here at this line, then it will create a problem for, it will start. Suppose if you give something else here, just understanding that I'll get an output, then it will act in any way. It may run, your program may run, but it will go in any direction, right? Now, the further part is transition. Now there are three statements which are there here, right? You can see here, these are the three statements here, correct? And this statement actually can be embedded here also directly. Okay, I'll come to that. Now, so just keep this in freezing, and we can go concentrate on this part because this is actually a part of this, like a duration of the time, right? You can see here duration of the time. Then initial state, final state, then easing is there. So you can, bouncing effects can be.
Sir, just get the syntax.
Yeah, I'm going for that. I'm just
Sir,
telling you, I'm writing there. Yeah,
Sir, can we have a syntax of that transition?
I'm writing there.
No, we can do it on human and describe.
Yeah, you can try this. You can see here. Because I was trying something that animate word. So here, it works here, see. The same thing, right? I can make it forever also. I don't have to write loop there. That's the beautiful part of this transition. Of course, it comes under this. See, this will go on. Now, this is done with the help of that. Now, याच्या खाली आम्ही पहिली कितलं कोड त्रास घेतला. This is a very simple code here, right? Now, simple no, simple no.
Yeah, this is translation. This is
So you have difficulty, you ask me. Where is the problem? No, wait. I समजावू ना. We'll go ahead. Again. You tell me where is the problem. No, there. Really just recording.
So what I want to know,
One minute.
then the date, side, picture,
That's translated for into a problem. Okay, I'll repeat it. Okay.
तो कोड असं बनी
तो बस आपल्याला-
ब्लँक करा हय एनिमेटेड पिक्चर असं बनी एंटर मारून सगळं ब्लँक करा तो न्ही ना वयर सुद्दां
Okay. आता समज. Where is the problem?
ट्रान्सलेशन आम्ही ट्रान्सलेटेड दोन स्टेट्स घेतल्या एक स्टेट
ना हे तुका अशें घेवंक शकता अशें सांगलां.
ती आमकां घेवपाक पाहिजे ना ती
तिची ही पळय घेतली न्हू आमी एक आतां आमी हांगा हे पळय आमी हे घेतली न्हू पळय सांगता तुमकां आयका. Animated picture is a function, okay, which animate that picture. कळ्ळें तुमकां? समजा तुमचे कडेन स्क्वेअर आसा, एक शेप आसा, पिक्चर आसा. Animate, you can give any name. Animate picture is not it's like a variable जशें आमी यूज करतात, correct? So like that I can take this name, I can pass this state, which is in form of state, input, okay, in form of state, and then same input I can use here. And what I am doing, this you know very well, no? You have done that, no? 1 minute, madam. Yeah. You have done this, no?
रोटेटेड टू
खबर आसा न्हू? सो तेतून कितें करता? पयलीं रोटेशन कशें करता तुमी? व्हेरिएबल घालताले कितें? एक्स वाय घालताले नाल्यार कितें फिक्स व्हॅल्यू घालताले, करेक्ट न्हू? आतां तुका ती फॅसिलिटी दिल्या, यू कॅन यूज दॅट एनी व्हेरिएबल. कळ्ळें तुमकां? सो
This is defining the variables.
हां,
Defining the variable.
You define the variable and you put it in that
Then use the
transformation.
defined variables in the step.
No, you define it and then use it in that transformation. कळ्ळें न्हू? So what you do? अजून कळोंक ना मॅडम?
नाही ते म्हाका
सांग, खंय म्हणून?
साइन स्टेट्स बी असते ट्रान्सलेटेड सर ट्रान्सलेटेडच उलयताले
हे ट्रान्सलेटेड तुमकां कळोंक ना.
150
Okay, 1 minute. Okay. आता कितें जाता?
रोटेट
सारकें? आता कितें जाता तर? Why? Because I have written only rotation there. You can see that. Translation is not there. I have put it off. Any doubt for anybody? Clear? म्हणून सांगलंय, this is a turning point.
Why it is 150?
Sir?
150, why it is 150?
कमेंट केला बद्दल तुझे सर्वांनी
Okay. We'll come to that, sir. Because she had some difficulties, so I have to cut it off, right?
सो सकल पाठ नजर आमचे इंग्लिश जातले तेन्ना काय सकल पाठार लागून जातले
What is that?
रोटेट जातले
So it is not animation.
पण तशी
No. Rotation is there, no? It is not animation. It is animation, right? Extra तुका जर तो फिरोवूंकय जाय आनी दोनूय सायडीन
ना तशी सर
सांग.
सकल बरयतले ट्रान्सलेशन तो जर डिलीट केल्यार तो रोटेट जातलो
ना म्हणून सांगले अजून सोपवंक ना. शिकता आसतना सुशागत चला. बेश्टे फुडलो विचार करून नाका. जे कितें आहा पळय ते पयलीं शिकात. बिकॉज दॅट्स वॉट आय टोल्ड यू. सी दिस इज व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट दिस स्टेप. डिफायनिंग द स्टेट हियर. हे जर चुकले तुम्ही, हे जर समजना जाल्यार फुडें मागीर प्रॉब्लेम जाता. आता कितें करता ते एनिमेट करता. पूण कशें करता एनिमेट? रोटेट जाता. करेक्ट न्हू? रोटेट जाता ते. आमी हांगा कितें दिला? स्टार्ट दॅट्स रोटेटेड. ती स्टेट आहा ती पास केल्या. करेक्ट न्हू? ही स्टेट आसा पळय. दी स्टेट इज पास हियर. बोर्डर आहा पळय बरयला. एरो
So, create that same picture here, so that it becomes easy for us to understand.
तुम्ही करा.
Yeah.
करा.
Give us some 5
Yes,
to 7
5 minutes I'll give you.
Yeah.
Best एकदम जातले. तुमकांय कळटलें.
Yeah.
आणि दॅट्स ट्रान्सलेटेड आहात ते बरया पण कॉमेंटान ये this also you type, right?
Yeah.
But in comment, because it will be useful for you to understand, right?
Can we have square 1 and square 2? Instead
किती
of
करा
square
तुम्ही
picture one.
किती
Yeah.
that is a variable name, no? You can have anything.
So, states of zero, it remains the same. States
Can
of
we
zero.
change it to 10?
डाऊट हा पयलींच डाऊट हा फुडलें कशें ट्रान्झिशन
Square 1 square 2.
Right.
So, point of machine. Sir, what is the point mark?
किती म्हणटा
Point marks sold.
पडलो करू Still people have not, teachers have not understood, right?
Till then.
तशें जाल्यार सर थंय स्क्वेअर पिक्चर 1 घालचें पडटलें instead of star. हय. Only single तुमी जर rectangle घेतात जाल्यार.
No, actually, आता आम्ही ट्रान्झिशन जो फुडलो भाग आहा पळय that I have kept in now if you try to run you'll see it will give a star in बरं आता तुम्ही सांगा we'll keep aside running of the program. Now you have to read what exactly will happen
Now,
before without running on the because you should know in your mind what should happen. एकच पिक्चर घेतला only one picture I have taken. एकच
now it relates to that statement.
okay fine.
Yes.
No, you tell me what will happen here.
It will rotate single picture.
This is not a output.
Single
This is a old one.
single square will be the
एक single square and then
हा.
एक single square and
सिंगल स्क्वेअर आहे आणि किती असलं ते
and it will rotate.
so rotate करायचं.
काय करून पोया स्टॉप फुडले आम्ही
Draw the
स्टेट्स आसा पळय स्टेट्स आसा पळय ते स्टेट्स इनपुट म्हणून वयता ते आमी थंय दिवंक ना ते ट्रान्झिशन गिव्स दॅट इनपुट्स कळ्ळें तुमकां ट्रान्झिशन आसा पळय फुडले आमी ते कॉमेंटान घालता ते इनपुट्स दिता त्या पिक्चराक तेजे जे ट्रान्सफॉर्मेशन्स असता ट्रान्सफॉर्मेशन कितले जाणांक खबर आहा लेट अस आय जस्ट वॉन्ट टू चॅक दॅट वॉट इज मीन बाय ट्रान्सफॉर्मेशन ट्रान्सफॉर्मेशन जर खबर ना जाल्यार हें कळचें ना चेंज म्हणून आमी बट वी हॅव टू डायजेस्ट इट जस्ट बाय नोईंग चेंज म्हणून कितें ते चेंज कितें कितें चेंजीस जावंक शकता right? Translation, rotation, scaling, right? In some books, when I read it, it is given changing in color also. Huh? Yeah, it's a part of sequencer. Right? Overall concept is sequencing. Sequencing की जर तर स्टेट असता ते आम्ही सिक्वेन्सान घालता सारखे आणि तितून पहिली सिक्वेन्स दिता आणि लास्ट सिक्वेन्स डिफाइन करता आणि आम्ही तो पुश करता ट्रान्झिशन. So then that shape moves from sequence 0 to that sequence whatever number you give. That is the concept. So आता कितें जाला पळय without sequence it is not giving error. It means it is working. But फुडलें कांय ताका instruction ना न्हू कितें करपाक जाय ते आमी कॉमेंटान घालता. कळ्ळें न्हू. सो हांव कितें करता हांव I'll put that into, I'll remove that comment of transition. Here no, I cannot see. Here, actually जे दिसता पळय ते हांगा डायरेक्ट घालपाक मेळटा. This is one thing I want to clear. Okay, we'll see that later on. We'll put directly and we'll see whether it runs or not. Okay, so already the function is defined here by assigning some values. Okay, now हांगा एक अशें भायर सोडून तुका रन करपाक मेळचें ना because this is one sentence. Only thing it goes left side. You can't see the other thing, so it is put in this manner. Okay. In this, you have your transition is the variable of type transition. Okay. See, listen first. This is very important. You are defining the transition of type transition, which is today's topic actually. Type transition. जसे आमचे type picture असा. Sir.
Is it a variable or value?
Which one? This one?
VAL. Defined.
Value. So, okay. So here, what is happening here is we are actually putting those states into the transition. Okay, and after that we are running the animation based on this transition. So let us go step by step. Okay, right? So आता transition आम्ही घेतला नो म्हणटकच we have to go for the animation. So आम्ही transition फक्त transition बरोबर. Yeah.
So we can't use them over there instead of when.
We'll use that. No problem. We'll see. Okay. Okay. So we are taking transition as a understanding transition and transition type is important, right? So हितूंतल्यान जे कितें मेळटा तेचे टायप कितें आसतले ट्रान्झिशन आसतले ओके हितूंतल्यान जे कितें भायर सरता तेचे टायप आसतले ट्रान्झिशन ओके नाउ आफ्टर दॅट see still it is working but there is no output because actually ते display दाखवूंक जाय न्हू ते अजून दाखवूंक ना राइट एनिमेशन डिस्प्ले करपाक जाय ते दाखवूंक ना आता what is this you can see there are some parameters here okay now one is duration of entire animation so duration तुका कितले जाय we will see that म्हणजे तू जेन्ना चेंज करता न्हू एनिमेशनान कसो इफेक्ट करता ते विल एबल टू सी आता हांगा 4 घेतला समज आम्ही 10 घेतलो जाल्यार ते एनिमेशनान कसे इफेक्ट करतले विल सी दॅट ओके देन वी हॅव इनिशियल स्टेट एंड फायनल स्टेट इनिशियल स्टेट इज यू कॅन सी हियर सिक्वेन्स व्हिच इज डिफाइंड अर्लियर ऑफ टाइम राइट सो दॅट वी इनिशियल स्टेट किती असतं इनिशियल म्हणजे किती स्टार्ट 0 करेक्ट रोटेशनान व्हिच इज द फायनल स्टेट 360 good 360 so we have written at 360 clear no common sense right easing dot linear the way you want to because there are certain automated patterns are there like bouncing is there you know some many other so it depends on what kind of animation you are expecting so you can always use that of course if you put it here like this see here you will not able to see something but if on your machine you can see that see there are so many things are there suddenly that's the effect right animated effect then animated picture this is important if you have written on your notebook yes picture please then see I have not completed transition right I have not completed, so it is halfway there. Then what we are doing is, we are passing this particular file. What is the type of this? Madam? What is, where this comes from? Define केला. आणि तेतून आम्ही किती घातलेले हा? State घातलेले हा. कोणाचेर एक जाता त्यो? Square picture one किती?
Is a picture.
Rectangle. Is it clear? What difficulty ha? I'll explain it again. Further explain it. You can see here animated picture under transition, right? Animated picture. So you are applying the transition on animated picture. What is animated picture? Right with state nature with state along with the state it is defined कोणाचे डिफाइन केला ते स्क्वेअर पिक्चर करेक्ट स्क्वेअर पिक्चर खंयच्यान येला इट इज कम फ्रॉम दिस डेफिनेशन आणि तेतून किती आसा रेक्टेंगल डिफाइन केला क्लियर नो ऑल ऑफ यू दिस इज इम्पॉर्टंट दिस लिंकिंग इज इम्पॉर्टंट बाकीचे ते रेडी असता पण हे तुझे फाईल जिचेर तू एनिमेट करता ती कशी पुटअप करपाक जाय आणि फ्रॉम वेर इट कम्स दॅट इज इम्पॉर्टंट द सोर्स आम्ही सोर्स येस
सर ते एनिमेट पिक्चर घातला पळय तेका आम्ही एक इनपुट दिल्लो वयर ब्रॅकेटान सो तो सकयल ब्रॅकेट जाय
no because yeah see what we are actually doing is we are whatever the input sequence is there we are passing it to the transition this is the method of passing it along with the functionaचे input असा पळय ते पासन करतात you understood no so function असा तो स्क्वेअर करता करेक्ट त्या स्क्वेअराचे कशे रोटेट करपाक जाय you have to rotate it from 0 to 360 correct so that sequence 0 that first state till the last state you are passing it to the transition separately pass on karta and not with a function because transition will not entertain transition here the transition is the main hero An animate picture is not a
individual function pass
individual function without parameter you are passing. And what you are doing is त्या पिक्चरान कितें करपाक जाय भोंवता आसतना ते दोन पॅरामिटर असता सिक्वेन्स इनिशियल स्टेट आणि फायनल स्टेट दॅट ऑल्सो यू आर पासिंग इन दॅट ट्रान्झिशन. सो हांगा ट्रान्झिशन इज द मेन तो म्हणटा आपूण मेन तुझे फंक्शनाचे आपणाक चलचे क्लियर न्हू क्लियर कितें तें मातशें कितें तें ट्रान्झिशन आहा पळय दॅट इज एक्टिंग एज अ मेन डाटा. सो तो म्हणटा कितें म्हाका फंक्शन दी फंक्शनान कितें पास ऑन केल्या पळय तें हांव मॅनेज करता. यू अंडरस्टूड न्हू इट इज ट्रायिंग टू मॅनेज दोज पॅरामिटर्स बाय इटसेल्फ एंड नॉट पासिंग थ्रू द फंक्शन. इज इट क्लियर जाता क्लियर no master if you have difficulty you clear it now.
Sir, it has to start from zero itself. The states of zero now. So we can't change that value.
No, you have to have sequence and किती करता आम्ही we start from something. Without starting point there won't be a sequence. Can you have the sequence of 1 2 3 without having 1?
So it can't start from one.
No, you have to start sequence has to start with 0. That is one of the conditions, prior condition in the transition. You can stop it anywhere. If it is 360, you can stop it at 90 also. But initial state has to be from 0. Is that clear, teacher? Any doubt? Something clear. Everybody understood? Yeah, easing is one of the ready function. With the help of this, you can give the effect. We'll come to know. There are many functions are there. Like we have selected now linear, right? If you type that control list, you get many. Like bounce in will get, circle in will get. This effect I'll show you.
Easing dot, yes, easing dot म्हणल्यार
ते मागीर पळोवया पयलीं आमकां आउटपुट तरी मेळपाक जाय. ओके नाव there is another. What is that? False and true.
After completing
False कितें करता जाणा I'll tell you in very simple layman language, right? False आसा पळय that removes that gives the image, and if you put true it removes the image. After तुझे ते मोशन जाले काय इमेज काढून उडयता, right? Okay, so this is that boolean function. Boolean is
360 जाता की कंप्लीट जाता.
yeah.
And it stops.
Yeah.
So म्हाका कंटिन्युअस जाय.
असा ती फॅसिलिटी आहे. हांवें उदक केल्लें तें पळोवंक ना तुमी. We can do that. We'll learn that later.
It repeat.
Yeah, it repeats forever.
This is conditional recursion.
Conditional recursion.
That we are stopping at 360.
Okay.
And this is after continuous function.
ते continuous पुन्हा हांवें केल्लें तें पळोवंक ना.
So the condition is time over here, no?
No, the sequence. That I'll explain you. But the picture दाखवूंक जाय. Okay? See that time I will change and you will come to know the difference. Correct. Slow, fast. So we'll go ahead with that. ये कौन transition कौन very important. Any? Good. Very good. Yes. Okay. You can write transition. Right. No, what is happening here is true and false. Okay. What happens to the true? When you give true, there's one more parameter which has to be passed to the transition. Now, when it is true, it clears that image. I'll show you. Now, before that, this has to be there. Otherwise, output will not get. Right? You'll see that. Right? No, madam, forever.
Yeah.
Right? And why that image is displaying that? Old image is there. That is false. Clear no madam?
Yes.
पहिले तो एक ड्रॉ केला आणि ती इमेज तो ड्रॉ हे करता आणि मागीर दुसरो राउंड घेता परत ती इमेज दवरता सो इफ आय यूज दॅट ट्रू Okay. And now forever जर काढले, see why it is going forever, it will go actually 360. I have to show that. So if I remove this, and again if I run, yeah, why it is going out?
Because that is hide on done.
Clear, madam?
Yes.
I ran it, and then after completing that 360, it disappears. Okay. So if you want, see everything it depends on what you want to do, right? If you want in certain animation you want to keep the image, then you use false. So it depends on what actually your animation part is, right? What are the component of your animation, right? So if I correct nothing, so it's a value, it's passing the value.
Comment those all three names.
This one.
All three first.
So if I suppose now teacher has said, okay, they are actually writing.
Yeah. So first get the syntax of transition.
Yeah, 1 minute. So what I'll do, what teacher have suggested, to put remark for the duration of entire animation for this.
All three.
All three. And then run. Then run.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see.
Just see अक्षर आपको
Dale? Sulega, clear?
Yes.
So what I'll do here, I'll run it.
It will not run.
Error. Why this error is come?
So instead of
We are not defined this function. No?
So instead of that, directly put values over there.
That is another option, right? So
Yes.
what we can do is, we can directly put these values here.
Comment those and write it again.
Say 4.
4.0. 4.0.
I can write here sequence.
Sequence. So sequence आम्ही पयलीं color gradient टाकणे आम्ही खूप comma घालून हे दिताले. So in the later we can use.
I'll show you one program I have designed.
हाँ.
So how it changes, increases and changes the color also.
Okay.
I'll show you.
Sequence
See, I was saying, if we take 90, we can take that's 360, any number. So if I take 90, what will happen, right? Okay. This I'll be false. Otherwise, I have to write it down. Eight. 90. Only 90.
So quadrant क्या?
No, where? 90. At place of 90. So teacher is experimenting. We are changing I'll just tell them also.
हाँ.
That sequence destination is there, right? We initially use 360, correct? So we are changing that number and we are testing it, what actually happens to the image. Okay? So now we made it 90, right? We made it 90. So what we'll do? We'll change it to yeah. Okay.
Must be clear or
Okay. No, but okay. Yeah. So we'll do that later. There's a request. Let us go slowly. We'll change that also. That also release. Yeah. We get the animation in this way. You can see. Right? And why it remains? False. Why it remains? False. Correct? Backbenchers. Sureka teacher, when I run it, it remains there. Why? Because the final comment of the transition is parameter is false. Okay? Now teacher has suggested to put there 15. Here, instead of 19, she has lowered down. She wants to put it 15. Right? You can see. 15 degrees. No. Because it is very low. So you feel that speed. So now we'll go for the speed. Right? Sir has suggested we'll change the speed. Where is the speed here? The first part, duration, right? So if to make this, to see this speed effective, right? We have to change the angle. No. What I am saying is now angle is made. Target angle is 15 here. So you rotate this 15 only and stop. You want to see here? See, still it is there. Here. Okay. Madam, very difficult. Okay, so now I will make this as 360 full angle. So, right, 360. I'll make it 360, and I'll change the timing. I will change the time. I'll make it say 12. Okay, now I'll make it 1. I'll make it point something.
Just like that.
Yeah. Correct. It doesn't show. It was very fast.
Make that 360 to some bigger number.
I make it here. Now see. Again, why that square is there? False. Don't forget this, because sometimes that animation output also get disturbed because you are writing that you don't know unknowingly that false remains there, and you go on starting searching, in that your program what is wrong.
Sir,
Okay.
just check this.
Correct, no? It's working. Because true. Make it false.
Stop.
See, now it doesn't show.
Repeated forever,
So, have you understood the duration of the, like how we can implement it for the sequences, right? And what is the effect of it, right? How it is effective. Okay. Yeah.
टीचर तेजस्वी तुमकां ते वेळार शिकलेले करून म्हणलें ना सो इट्स अ ब्लॉक
Function.
so I can call it n number of times so any part animation command transition करपा शकता हांव
Karpa Tattva. Here, this is a anything.
कारण आमकां आनी parent
हाँ.
तो सेपरेट कसो करप
सगळे घालचे पडटले सेपरेट. ना बदल आमी कितें केल्ले? कंबायन केल्ले. सेपरेटली घालून मेळटा. You can put it separately. You can handle it separately. Or first you combine it and then fixed tagaची image case आमी हे केल्ले. Then on that we can treat.
सो म्हाका आतां आनी जाल्यार तो ट्रान्सिशन ब्लॉक म्हाका परत सॉल्व करपाक
Yeah, so today morning when we started, morning, the 1 minute. Morning what? We have started with this square आम्ही स्टार केले. फिरवून ना स्टार केले, right? फिरवून ना आम्ही स्टार केले, right? आणि मागे so what we did, we combined the image as one image of the two squares, and then that combined image was treated with a transition. Fixed tag.
सर आता होल स्क्वेअर नी आता सर थंय कॉमा ट्रान्सिशन जाला इन स्क्वेअर ट्रान्सिशन कॉमा ट्रान्सिशन
Achha, that part. If so many transitions are.
ना
You mean to say if many animations are there in one screen, then how you do it?
I can call it any number of times.
Yes.
So if I say any transition comma transition then don't square
Correct.
and how to separate it.
You can separate it based on the like for example, you can correct. Suppose if star is there, you want to separate it. Put negative and positive. Actually, yeah, I am not supposed to tell you logic. You are supposed to do it.
I got it.
Yours are. Any parallel means one can be parallel, one line can be parallel, 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines can be parallel, right? So it is like if more than one animation, then we can parallelly run it. And the same program Same, you have used the same now.
रिवर्स ऑर्डर उलट येतात तसंच स्टार्टिंग
Okay, anyway, yeah. Can we move further?
झालं
Again, clear the state 0 to 1. No, it has to always start with state 0. Like one of the requirements of the syntax of transition. त्यांच्यानी डिझाईन केला तसं आपण यूज करतो ओजस डिझाईन त्यांच्यानी तसेच सांगला ते मी ट्राईड इट ॲक्चुअली that question was there because but it doesn't work I don't know if I got error थोड्याने ड्रॉप
Fine.
Experiment is over. All of you, experiment is over. Yes. Experiment is over. Let us move for contract. Understanding contract of understanding the contract of transition. All of you please pay attention. All teachers.
Yes,
Teacher.
Follow it, sir. Mashi, 2 minutes. I just want to explain the contract of transition. Then you will understand transition's actual meaning of, right?
Okay. Transition is a function. You are actually defining it as a function of type transition. Okay. Now, what happens actually here is you are passing you are passing this particular transition type on previously defined picture. Okay, त्याच्या वयर तुम्ही जे पिक्चर डिफाइन केल्ले आसा त्याचेर तुम्ही ट्रान्झिशन घालता, राइट? सो that type has to be transition, right? So picture previously whatever you have created or designed, you are putting transition on that. This is very important, right? What you are passing there? Can you tell me from there? First is double, then sequence double, sequence double, right? Then now easing dot linear is an animation. It's a ready function, and it result into animation, right? Then picture, then bullying, right? Why this is picture?
Animated picture is a picture.
Correct. Animated picture is a type picture. Okay, that is the reason why we are putting this as a picture. Correct, teacher? And what is the output? Animation. Okay. Is there any difficulty understanding the contract?
Means logical
Now there are two things here. Okay. After that, you are actually defining it into animation, so that it remains. Right? Okay. It should be stored, no? That animation which you have done, it has to be stored in a type variable. Correct, no? Otherwise, that will flow away. It will not remain in your head. Right? So what you are doing is you are defining the animation there by a value, and you are putting whatever is animation is happening into that. But then how it is happening? Parallel. Now, effect of parallel and sequence will be understood. The beginning I have shown one slide. I will show you. This is why it is happening parallel. Teacher requires time. It is answering, right? So parallelly two animations are occurring, right? Now if I put it in sequence, so I am going to here and I change it to S. Right? Now you can see here. First square animation, orbit animation. You understood this? पयलीं कितें जाता? आतां हांगा जर तुवें फॉरएवर घातलें जाल्यार कितें जातलें? पळया, for sequence, not parallel.
First was run and the second is one.
Correct. Just observe it. So that sequence असता तो repeat जाता. Clear? Animation sequence and animation parallel. Okay, PAR and path they say you can say parallel also, right?
So this is regarding rotation. Rotation.
Animation, just call it animation.
Let's translate it.
Don't ask. Let's translate.
Let's translate it.
Because we have taken three states. That is why this class, three states are there. The first state is Abhinav. Otherwise, you can see here angle 8 here. ये 3 घेतला. Case. हाँ यार case. ते case है. No, this is concerning only about the anim par and anim sequence. This is the beginning one. Now I hope you understood this now. या आता कळलं असतं तुमका, राईट? बिगिनिंग आपल्या पैकी तितून 2 स्क्वेअर घेतलेले आम्ही मिक्स टॅग यूज करून कंबाईन केलेले आणि मागीर तेका एनिमेशन. नाउ आय थिंक इट शुड बी मोर क्लियर, राईट? टीचर क्लियर आसा?
बॉलाचं काढलेलं
Translation, translation. It's getting translated. You have not seen it. Okay.
Translation.
I will explain it. You are not confident. Now we also have for animation type. Okay. We take the transition. And transition is there, okay, you are taking one output of type transition. You are taking one output of type transition, okay? And what you are doing is, you are taking animation, whatever the animation is there, you are taking it as an input and you are giving output as an animation. Now here, we can put here star, it means it gives you clear sign that you can take any number of animation. Any number of animation. For example, you can see here any path here. You can see here any path, right? So you can suppose you are having one more transition for a different animation. You can combine it here within one animation type, and you can run this animation. Okay. So now what we have done, in this case we could have done two squares separately. What teacher have done, right? So you have two transitions, correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can have two transitions, and those transitions can be animated, and you can run this with parallel animation with anim path, and you can store this full animation of two animations in one animation type, and you can run the animation. The same thing happened previously, I have shown, no? In the ball is rotating like this, and that square is also moving. I have shown the difference between the anim SEQ, that is sequence, and anim par also. Anim par parallelly moves, right? But anim sequence run one after other, right? So why it is happening like that? Because two animations we are putting in that wherever the transition is written. Clear, no? So here, what exactly is happening here is, here we are passing one animation. Along with that, we are also one transition, which is again a output is animation of type animation, and we are also passing one more animation. And so finally, it gets stored as a animation. So this is a type. This is the variable. Only for understanding we have written. You can write anything, right? No issue. So if I just write here, it's not a reserve verb, right? Any, and if I run here any, see, it's running. So that animation, what was written is a variable type, like how we normally take it. Value means you are defining the function, it's not a function. Just you are running, you don't just want to run it. Okay.
डिफाइन करतात डिफाइन करून
So say things are really made.
सेम
Yeah. So it's a ready function. Why? I'll tell you. Now that 150, you know, somebody, one teacher was asking about 150. 150. Sir, you were asking about 150. Why that 150 is there? Here. This 150 is there, right? Yeah. I'll explain it along with the sign.
Sir, now one variable is declared, or one parameter is declared in states double.
I'll explain this. Teacher, listen. Teacher Pallavi.
Yes.
Wait. All of you, yeah. You know, sign value of the boy. Suppose sign 90 is right. Okay. It always toggle between 1 and 0. You know that? 1 to minus 1, right? Something like that. So it doesn't take more than 1 always. So when you multiply it by say some number, then what will happen?
The number भेटला.
Yes. Either if when sign becomes negative, that number becomes negative. Correct, no? And when that sign becomes positive, it doesn't go more than 1.
But that number can change.
Yeah, it will change. Suppose if I make it, say, sir, if I make it 200, can I make it 200?
Yes. Sir.
See, can I make it 200, sir? See,
Sir,
200.
run.
I'll run it. It has gone to 200. It's going to 200.
Sir, the
If I make it 50, I'll make it 50 so that you can make out the difference, right? See. So sign values असता पळय, it toggles between 1 negative to positive 1.
Sir, sir.
So त्याका तू number multiply करून ते limit येता. At number
Sir, ते काढा 50, comma dot
If
into
zero
sign.
into
Just take that states.
okay. So I'll take it as a just it as 0.
हाँ. Sir, before that 50 sign.
So you want 50 to be there.
No.
तुका फक्त states आहे. Now what teacher suggested here, you want to test, right? Then no confusion should be there, among other teachers. Now teacher want to test there by removing that sign and 50 and all. And just you want to put state there. Okay? Let's see what happens.
Sign.
Okay, teacher, I'll run it.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is happening? What is happening? Yeah, why it is going out? Can anybody answer this question? Why it is going out? Teacher have suggested one value there, and some change, right? And she said you put only state 0 there. Now why it has gone to that corner?
360 plus
Make it 180.
Very close, sir. Now, any answer here? Why it has gone and stopped there?
360 get
What? See, let me clear this. What we have done is there was 150 multiplied by sign was there. I removed it. Okay, and I just placed that state of 0, right, as a part of syntax. Okay, and what we did, we removed that and then we run the animation. What happened?
It went to the final
It went to the final state. What is the final state?
360.
So you just took the measurement along the positive x-axis, right? Is that clear? How it behaves, right? Very powerful.
Sir, 360 years के आता 180 करा.
180. Okay.
360 years के 180 करा.
Okay. Teacher have suggested to make that 360 as a 180. If you also have some testing suggestions, please come out, Ishwari teacher. So if you want, can test you. So what teacher has suggested that let us make this as 180.
Stop that. Yes. Yes. आता रिवर्स करूया.
आमच्या तिला कितले आप पूछे ना ते टेबल
Let's reverse it.
rotate
हाँ रोटेट तो त्याचे रोटेट दिला ना आम्ही
हाँ rotate काढतो एक confusion
रोटेट काढूया
हाँ
रोटेट काढूया म्हणता टीचर ओके रोटेट
दोन्ही आल्या एक सांगितलं आम्हाला
राईट
yes
रोटेशन काढला आता प्लेन
Rotation ला.
उचना राईट इट विल जस्ट ट्रॅव्हल राईट See. Somewhere here. Here. तुम्हाला दे
सर
आहे फक्त क्लिक आणणं म्हटलं काय करून नाही ते रोटेशन काढणं झिरो घातला इट इज नॉट
yeah.
अंडरस्टूड It's not moving. Because
साइन डिफाइन करताना सर मयूर सर मयूर सर मयूर सर साइन डिफाइन करताना 2 रेडियन घालून आसता म्हणजे वरड अशें टू रेडियन घातला तुवें साइन डिफाइन करताना माझे वचून सेमचा प्रॉब्लेम
and that is of type transition. And on that, whatever output you get of that type transition, you are implementing any sequence or any part, right? And what is the input there? Animation. You are taking the animation input. See, you can see here transition. Yeah. You are taking all these parameters. Finally, you are getting what? Animation. That animation becomes input. Similarly, this also becomes input. आता कळलं?
म्हणजे ते तुका इनपुट खंयच्यान मेळ्ळा ते all these are inputs, right? All these are inputs. What you are getting? Operating it
तसे अंगाने कोर्स आहे ट्रान्झॅक्शन
why this guy very running of the same this but ultimately what you are doing you are getting similarly translation we have
Y is 0.
x and y are 0.
Yes, yes.
When your sign comes here or cos comes here, it will move in that direction.
Thank you.
here, it straight moves to here. It means what? X changes. And then it comes down. And the वाकडे was not, right? No, it's moving either parallel to the x-axis or vertical to the x-axis. When it comes here, right? And then it moves here.
It means a copy of itself.
So it looks like it's moving, but you think it is moving?
There's one more which is available.
Okay. So it looks like it's moving. It doesn't move. So, teacher here. Yeah. Teacher Dalla here. I'll explain. Again, I will explain, right? We'll discuss again, right? See, I'll run it. This is very interesting because, see, yes. See, one thing is, yes, the one thing is very, one thing is very clear, that it keeps the copy at end of the motion, right? No, that means that first square when it goes to that second place,
I don't know.
ती कॉपी उरता ती परत
दुसरी
दुसरो येता ती कॉपी उरता परत दुसरो येता
Yes.
ती कॉपी उरता परत there are 4 squares.
Yes. So 4 square, you know 4 square, teacher, actually this 4 square, they are just moving in straight line. कसलेच complications ना. सारखे नो? There is no equation, nothing is involved. It just moves, parallel to y-axis 2 times opposite direction, and parallel to x-axis 2 times opposite direction. So, madam, see, what is the difficulty? You learned today, Pani. First, see, I'll tell you very simple thing, right? I'll make it very simple. You write code only for moving that square to there. Can you do that? Okay, we'll do it. Come on. After that, this is moving down.
Yeah.
Right? But here also same thing is repeated. What is repeated from here to here, except here x changes, but here y changes. So, when we write xy, right? How we write? If you see the translation, you have seen the translation, right? That translation will be there, and then you will have
X and Y.
parameters, right?
Yeah.
One is x and one is y. So when it is moving from here to here, this remains constant.
Yeah.
This changes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then when it comes down from here to here, this remains constant and y changes,
Yeah.
right? And similarly, when it goes from here to here, again x changes, but it is in now opposite.
But now we have to define 4 animated square difference, 4 animated this thing,
Yeah.
or only one we have to. So 4 square I have already done. I have to animate all the 4 squares. So in that 4 square, I have to change the accent in that square translated is there. Here I have to change.
Yeah, coordinate, see, that is what. See, I'll tell you. Now again you listen, right? You are changing, you are moving it from here to here.
Yes.
So what is changing? x is changing. So from here to here, it is moving from here to here, teacher?
Yes.
It is moving, correct? Okay. Now what is the problem from here to down? It is not moving.
It is moving on this direction either or it goes up.
It goes up, right? So there is no problem actually. Only thing, your placement of the x and y coordinate is not proper.
You mean to say like
Here now. Here at
उलटे करतात या व्हॅल्यूज डॉट नंतर
initial state and then
Now here, in this case, run this. You have to observe what exactly is happening. What's happening here? Can I repeat? Too many colors are there.
the transition animation random colors. Random colors. 1, 2, 3, 4
And otherwise, translation, functions are there. They are using what? Scaling negatively and scaling positively. Yes. And it comes together assignments are already
एक square
video send this on video WhatsApp group.
already 2 assignments.
This is not there.
No, this I am just giving you as per your wish because here no random function is there. You can do it.
Let's do syntax I had mentioned that first comes external vertex, right? Over here what you give is the start point, the first point. Okay? Your first starting point comes inside this. Then always, and I have told you that it's a good practice to keep only 2 values on one row. If you even feel that you're confident I can have all 6, do not do it, because tomorrow when you want to try changing the control points, having all those 6 points in one line becomes difficult to, at least find out yourself which one you need to change and which exactly is the control point. Clear? So always keep it in your good practices to have only 2 values per row. Okay? Now, after the start vertex, what you have is the control point. So, I had mentioned yesterday for the control point, you imagine a string. Now, let's say I want to draw a wave like this, right? At one point I am pulling it on top, at the second point I am giving a pressure. Can you see the in between curve? So in order to have this shape, I know that I need to pull it somewhere, I need to bend it somewhere. So that is exactly your control point. When you are pulling it and when you are pushing it. Those two are your control points. So once you have defined your start point, the very first step is to define your end point at the last. Make sure you do this first. Once you are sure which is your start point, which is your end point, the two in between are the control points that you need to choose. Depending on how you want it to be positioned. In the example that I gave you, one was to draw a fish, right? Now, when I am saying I have to start from this point, if you imagine this point is somewhere outside, right? So this is going to be your first start point, and let's say your first curve I want to have up till here. So this is going to be your end point. Now, if you notice, is this coming out or going in here? It is going out here, it is not going in. So the first control point will be outside the start point here. This is how you are going to do your paperwork on your papers. And this was expected in your paperwork. What you all have given me is final output, how your beautiful fish would look like. I am happy to see that, no doubt. But I expected this to come in your paperwork. Okay? How you have built your fish is what is expected in your paperwork, not the final beautiful fish as you have got as an output. Once you have understood that your first control point is here, now check this point. I can keep this as my second control point. It is again being pulled out, not pulled in. So this is somewhere lower to your first point. Are you understanding this part? If this is outside the start point, this is lower to the first point. That is how you are going to frame your control points. Now don't ask me whether you can get the exact values of this. That is also possible in Desmos. Do you want to learn Desmos? I have no problem. Using Desmos, you will have to learn the equations. Once you know the Bezier equation, you can directly get the value of all these points. But the best is you can approximate using your own Kojo. That is the best way and the easiest way as of now. Okay? For those who are interested in knowing the exact values, definitely you can go ahead in Desmos, put the equation, you will get the direct value of those points.
Second, so you are pointing on the fish.
No, you will never pass your curve through the fish. It will be somewhere here. Remember that. It never touches the control points. It is going through it, not touching the control point. What touches the, the curve touches only your start and end point, not the control points. Control points are to control the curve. Either you pull it, you bend it, that is what is meant by control points. Is it clear now? And similar to this is your curve. Curve operates in the similar way.
What is the difference between Bezier and curve?
There is no much difference. They are both the brothers and sisters you can know.
Teacher, what we did is the whole thing till the tail, okay, can be a Bezier curve.
It can be if you are very sure that you know.
Yes.
Yes, you can do it or you can do it by parts. That is also
Yeah,
possible.
then the top face.
See, you can either do it like whole of this as one curve,
And then
or you can do it up to here, do this portion, then come here. The only difference in curve and Bezier, can somebody tell me? What was the difficulty you found? while you are doing this
Here,
exercise?
in curve,
Only
No, there are
in
people who are
Bezier,
doing
it draws a line.
Teacher Nazia has done it entirely using Bezier vertex. Both bird as well as fish. Flag also she has done.
I have done flag fully. All three
Fish
fish
are-
full points we can draw.
I'm sorry if there were more because I have not been able to go through all. Only few I have been able to go through.
Bezier
So
has to
out
be
of that,
colored.
only one person, around 20 I
Then we
checked.
mixed it. Some
So
full
she was
body
the
we
one
had.
who got all three in Bezier vertex.
Yeah.
Yeah, most have used at least one curve, one arc, but she's only done it through one Bezier.
Flag I have done. So I have done.
That second point now, I feel it should be below that line. Means the line passes through that.
Line will never pass through your control point.
Yeah, so it will be below, not on top.
See, if this is somewhere here, no, if you are keeping the first control point over here to control this,
Yes.
then this is little
Below that.
So somewhere here the control point should be. If this is here, the second control point can be here.
No, what
so
I
that you
it
can
should
pull
be below,
it.
I think.
Check it out.
Yeah, means if these are the 2 points.
As long as you know
Yeah.
which two you want to make the control points, the idea
It is
and the
like
concept
pushing
is
from
clear,
down.
you can go ahead. Whether you want it on top or you want it down,
It is like pushing from down.
yes, it is like pushing from top and bending it somewhere down. Okay? So I hope I'm clear. When it is paperwork, it is this what is expected. How you have built the entire shape, not the beautiful picture. That is art class. Beautiful pictures that are coming out is not expected. How you have framed your entire picture using how many curves, how you realize that you need to bend, where exactly, which point you have to bend and which point you have to pull out, which should be your control point, is exactly what is to be shown in your paperwork. Okay?
Teacher, we have entirely done it in Bezier curve.
Very nice. Those who have managed to do it entirely in Bezier curve.
But you all should have mentioned it, that picture.
No, I didn't mention it because whatever is taught is open.
Three
You
concepts.
can use any concept. There is no hard concept. But Bezier was a little tricky.
Like simple one, use arcs, use curves.
All three are possible to be done in all three. That is why you cannot restrict that you use only this or use, at least you do. That is I expected. If we limit and somebody who is not comfortable using Bezier will say, "Asu jagmar korit na itle bol."
Comfortable with, so we did it.
Yeah. So at least come to that level. Now I have given you a feedback that it is possible to do using entirely Bezier. So now go ahead and do it using Bezier. Those who have not can try with curves and arcs as well. That's all. Thank you. Bezier vertex. This is teacher Nazia's code.
Next year,
Teacher. Teacher. Gone. I code. Code of I. डोळा कसा केला बोल
And
माझे डोळे
This is available on Codex. It is done by teacher Sonali.
Yes, this
She has also made use of Bezier curve. Bezier vertices. She has made use of arc, vertex, curves, all the concepts. You can see the final outcome.